The biggest and most controversial illegal immigration crackdown, Operation Metro Surge, is officially over after the deaths of 2 protesters and sometimes violent pushback.
The chaos that we are seeing is caused directly by ICE.
We're there on the ground in the final days of Metro Surge.
The changes were brought about because we were getting a cooperation that we were seeking.
This week, we investigate the true effect of the arrests based on the stats, not hype.
The Supreme Court prohibits public unions from forcing members to pay dues that go to politics, but that hasn't stopped the practice.
Has anyone from the union explained how this money from your dues went to these organizations when you made it clear that you opted out of that?
No, never.
We look at one lawsuit where 2 teachers are taking on a union giant's allegedly deceptive practices.
Cell phones are in the hands of almost every American, and every one carries a potential threat.
So imagine that you take the tiny little card that's in your cell phone and you just stack them all up. You could use it for a lot of different things, most of them nefarious.
We look at the growing concern about SIM attacks.
Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. 13 months into President Trump's second term, his administration reports over 700,000 deportations plus 2.2 million self-deportations. A major flashpoint, Minnesota, with 133,000 illegal immigrants on ICE's dockets. Counties were releasing accused criminals into the community without notifying ICE. Operation Metro Surge was a 74-day sweep with up to 3,000 agents targeting the worst of the worst, but also sweeping up many nonviolent illegal immigrants. That sparked massive protests, some violent, drew agitators, and resulted in 2 deadly shootings. We were on the ground in Minneapolis during the final days of Metro Surge. Today, inside the largest, most controversial illegal immigration crackdown in U.S. history. A bone-chilling 5 a.m. rollout in St. Paul, Minnesota.
So we already have 2 units already positioned out near the first target.
We're embedded with a team of federal agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, during the final days of Operation Metro Surge.
So a lot of what you're going to see out here right now with some of these targets is that they're going to be, we'll make observations of them entering their vehicles, exiting their homes, things like that, and then we'll initiate a vehicle stop.
Their target, an illegal immigrant previously arrested for DUI. Local law enforcement released him without notifying ICE, who would have deported him. Now agents are trying to nab him in the neighborhood where he lives. What do we have going on here?
When they initiated the traffic stop, vehicle stop, they determined that this person was not the original target, but they were in immigration proceedings. But they're going to now check them and see if there's anything additional as far as criminal history and things like that.
As the ICE agents worked, protesters were on their heels, converging at ICE headquarters, tracking and following ICE vehicles.
They like to get the license plates.
Coordinating by phone and blowing a whistle, potentially warning alleged criminal illegal immigrants. Our ride-along documented the closing chapter of Operation Metro Surge. Reporter czar Tom Homan announced its end on February 12th in Minneapolis.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. As a result of this surge operation, we have greatly reduced the number of targets for enforcement action. And many criminal aliens have been arrested and taken off the streets, including murderers, sex offenders, national security threats, gang members, and other violent criminals.
Just a week prior, de-escalation signals emerged. The Trump administration pulled 700 agents from the force of several thousand, while Minnesota sheriffs committed to handing over illegal immigrants arrested for new crimes rather than releasing them.
The changes were brought about because we were getting the cooperation that we were seeking, which was to go out into the field and go after targets that we had already missed. And now we can focus on the targets that are going into the jail and getting them in a secure environment, and then go out to get the ones that we missed when that wasn't happening with the cooperation.
The people you picked up when we were out in the field today, you were still targeting criminal aliens, not ordinary illegal immigrants who are here not violating the law?
That's correct. That was our targets today. Range from, we have a person that is out there who has sexual offenses. We had people that were out there for DUIs. These are all part of our targets that we had for this morning.
But still, if you run into somebody who's not committed additional crimes here, you will pick up that illegal immigrant as well.
That's correct. If you're in the country illegally and we encounter you, we will take you into custody.
The turning point was the deaths of 2 protesters amid rising tensions. January 7th, protester Renee Good blocks agents with her SUV, ignores repeated orders to exit, then accelerates, allegedly striking and injuring one agent. He opens fire, killing her in what he calls self-defense.
He's an experienced officer that has served a number of years, and we recognize that he acted according to his training, and we have expected all the policies and procedures of review will be exactly that he acted appropriately to protect his life and the life of his colleagues and fellow law enforcement officers that were there and people that were surrounding.
No charges were filed against the agent, an internal use of force review still pending. Then on January 24th, Customs and Border Protection agents are seen here struggling with Alex Preddy. Officials say he was armed, violently resisted arrest, and posed an imminent danger. Critics say the agents tackled and fatally shot a peaceful protester who posed no threat.
Eyewitness video shows, once again, reckless, violent, and dangerous federal agents taking the life of a Minnesotan. And rather than following standard law enforcement practice, which is focused on public safety and de-escalation, they have killed another person.
The Justice Department and FBI are leading a civil rights investigation, the agents on administrative leave. Operation Metro Surge removed more than 4,000 illegal immigrants from Minnesota's neighborhoods. Examples: these 13 men said to be active gang members from Mexico, Laos, Guatemala, Cuba, Burma, Thailand, and El Salvador, roaming Minnesota streets after allegedly committing drug crimes, arson, sexual and weapons offenses, robbery, and kidnapping. 9 counts of burglary, 3 counts of assault, 7 illegal entries. Sexual assault charges, 7 drug convictions, 13 illegal reentries, and at least 4 pending charges, including a felony weapon offense. Convicted of 1 murder, arrested for another, convicted of 2 murders. Nationally, since 2000, official data indicates illegal immigrants have committed 5 million serious crimes, including 200,000 robberies, 100,000 rapes or sexual assaults, and 30,000 murders, equivalent to the population of Santa Fe, New Mexico. A 2007 triple murder in Newark, New Jersey by illegal immigrant gang members from Peru and Nicaragua. A 2008 triple murder of a father and 2 sons in California by an illegal immigrant gang member from El Salvador. He was shielded from deportation after prior arrests by San Francisco's sanctuary city policies. The 2015 quadruple murder spree in North Carolina involving a gang member mistakenly granted amnesty under President Obama. And the 2023 murder of 5 people in Cut and Shoot, Texas by an illegal immigrant from Mexico deported 5 times.
They're apprehending murderers and drug dealers.
In Trump's second term, federal officials report about 540,000 deportations nationwide, coinciding with a remarkable drop in crime. Violent crimes like robbery, aggravated assault, gun assaults, and carjackings down double digits. Homicides plunged 21%, the largest single-year drop on record, now lowest in at least 125 years.
This dramatic decline is what happens when a president secures the border, fully mobilizes federal law enforcement to arrest violent criminals, and aggressively deports the worst of the worst illegal aliens from our country.
But Trump's opponents who support illegal immigration accuse the administration of heavy-handed tactics terrorizing communities and innocent immigrants.
The chaos that we are seeing is caused directly by ICE, Border Control, and this federal administration.
What's your name, sir?
Keep her back, please.
In the end, America's largest such operation closed with casualties on both sides, yet each declared success. The Trump administration removing dangerous people from Minnesota streets and gaining county pledges to turn over criminal illegal immigrants after new arrests. Protesters saying they forced an end to rogue agents tormenting communities. ICE recently put 2 agents on administrative leave. They're under investigation for making allegedly false statements. That in the January 14th Minnesota shooting of a man in the leg who'd illegally entered the U.S. from Venezuela. Coming up, teachers taking on their union in court. Almost 8 years ago, the Supreme Court ruled that government and other public sector workers can't be forced to pay union dues. That's because unions frequently spend the money on politics, and not all of the members agree on who's supported. But all these years later, the battles between employees and their unions continue. Today, Mackenzie Frost reports on a legal challenge mounted by 2 teachers in New Jersey.
Marie DuPont has been a teacher for 20 years in New Jersey, spending the majority of her career at this school near Newark. Until recently, she was also a member of the New Jersey Education Association, the state's largest and most influential public employee union with more than 200,000 members. Her obligation to the union hasn't come cheap, with dues to the tune of $1,500 annually. But now, DuPont and fellow New Jersey teacher Anne-Marie Pock-Lembo are suing their union, alleging leadership siphoned members' money to support the union's president, Sean Spiller, and his unsuccessful run for governor of New Jersey in 2025.
That is why I'm asking you to stand with me right now as I run to be the next governor of New Jersey.
We did not give them permission to do that, to use our money to back up President Spiller. Political campaign.
DuPont says when she joined the union, she was given options about campaign cash. She could either check a box to voluntarily contribute to the union's political causes or leave it unchecked. DuPont says she left the box unchecked.
When we check that box and say that we're not voluntarily giving our money to do certain things, that's exactly what we mean.
In 2018, the Janus v. AFSCME U.S. Supreme Court decision fundamentally changed labor law, ruling public employees cannot be forced to pay union dues.
The Supreme Court has just handed down a decision involving unions.
The court found that forcing public employees to pay mandatory fees to unions is the same as compelled speech and violates their First Amendment rights. But in New Jersey, DuPont argues her rights are being ignored. Her lawsuit claims the union's use of millions of dollars in member dues has been deceptive. It says the union steered the money to Garden State Forward, a political group created and controlled by union officials. Then, Garden State Forward sent $40 million to Working New Jersey, a super PAC run by union insiders and another group called Protecting Our Democracy. Both groups spent millions of that money on Spiller's campaign efforts, all while DuPont says some union members had no idea their dues were being funneled to fuel their union president's political aspirations.
Has anyone from the union explained how this money from your dues went to these organizations when you made it clear that you opted out of that?
No, never. We didn't get an answer.
There is not a lot that union members can do to stop their union from sending their money to politics.
David Osborne from the Commonwealth Foundation focuses on public employee rights and says the violations involving union spending are part of a national pattern.
Unions have increasingly found themselves dipping into union membership dues as a source for political funds. What union officials have found it far easier to do is just take the really big pot of money, take a little bit off the top, and send it to another political organization who can do all the political spending from there.
Osborne says the Janus ruling from the country's highest court decided the work of unions is political.
Unions are still using the same lines that they've always used to convince people that they're not spending money on political matters. Truth is, they're spending tons of money on it.
That's exactly what DuPont says happened to her and why she says she's suing.
Trust, integrity, transparency. That is what really my lawsuit is about.
Osborne says nearly 98% of unions' federal political spending went to Democratic candidates and causes. On the state level, about 96% of spending benefits Democrats.
If the teachers are successful in this lawsuit, could that set a precedent for other unions and how they're able to spend their money?
One of the things that I hope can come about from this is that a union that's faced with a lawsuit like this and may have to reevaluate their own internal practices.
In protest, DuPont decided to leave her union last July, a process that Osborne says unions intentionally make difficult.
How difficult is it to leave a public sector union?
So it's like a full-time job to leave your membership. I think union executives are terrified that ultimately they will lose their position and their power as a result of members leaving the union.
What does the union say about the allegations?
Well, Sharyl, a spokesperson for the NJEA calls this lawsuit baseless and without merit, saying that it's a member-led union with decisions about endorsements and spending coming from its elected leaders. The union did recently ask a judge to dismiss this lawsuit, but that motion was just rejected, and an appeal is expected.
All right, Mackenzie, thank you. Ahead on Full Measure, the massive hidden threat posed by the little computer chips in our smartphones. The tiny chip inside your smartphone, a SIM card, is the key to connecting to your cellular network. But nefarious actors have figured out how to weaponize thousands of them in swarm attacks to spread disinformation, steal financial information, and jam entire communication networks. Scott Thuman reports.
In September, as President Trump and the First Lady arrived to address the United Nations, the escalator abruptly stopped. It wasn't the only technical glitch of the day.
These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
President called for an investigation. And at the same time, the Secret Service had already discovered a very separate, wide-ranging threat that could have crippled the UN meetings and much of New York City. A so-called SIM farm in a nearby New York City apartment, roughly 100,000 SIM cards connected to servers and capable of sending millions of messages, overwhelming communications, potentially crippling emergency services. The first question might be, what is a SIM card? Well, it's this: a small smart chip that securely stores your phone number and your carrier details. It allows your phone to connect to a cellular network and acts as a sort of digital passport. Michael Daniel once served as cybersecurity coordinator for the National Security Council under President Obama, and now leads the Cyber Threat Alliance, a nonprofit dedicated to improving global security. What exactly is a SIM card farm?
So imagine that you take the tiny little card that's in your cell phone and you get hundreds of them, thousands of them, and you just stack them all up. You could use it for a lot of different things, most of them nefarious, right? So you can use it to send fraudulent texts. You can also use them to, for example, simultaneously send text messages to a given area, right? And we would call that a denial of service attack.
Here's how that sim swarm hits you on an almost daily basis. Those fake job offers and opportunities, warnings you owe money for toll road violations or that you have to pay postal service fees, all designed to steal your credit card information, identity, or to influence what you're thinking.
Is politics at play here? Would we see, for example, someone putting out something that they believe would be more divisive right now, maybe to stoke more fear or anger politically?
That's always a possibility, right? You can use these sorts of things to deliver politically motivated messages. You can also use it to spread disinformation.
And make the senders plenty of cash. The Wall Street Journal reporting Chinese criminals tricked Americans out of more than $1 billion over the last 3 years, just from those fake toll and postage fee texts. So who's behind it?
Could be everyone from Russia to North Korea to China to...
Yes. North Korea is a prime example of a nation state that directly uses its people to carry out cybercrime around the world to get money for the regime so they can avoid sanctions. So, yes, there's a wide variety of, potential malicious actors that could be behind it.
How confident are you that law enforcement has the ability to detect these sorts of problems and shut them down?
I think it's often very difficult, right, for these kinds of operations to be identified remotely. Usually when law enforcement finds these things, it's because of a human-led tip, because it's very difficult to sort of backtrace to a physical location of a particular SIM card. It can be done, but it's challenging.
For now, the best defense is knowledge that these tiny cards that connect us can also be just another Trojan horse in today's technology. In Washington, D.C., for Full Measure, Scott Thuman.
And after a break, what's ahead next week on Full Measure? Coming up next week on Full Measure, the National Institutes of Health has never before had a leader like Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. He's shaking up NIH, the world's largest public funder of scientific research, named to his current position after years of exposing problems at our health agencies during COVID.
I think we're in a very, very bad state. We have to reform each of these agencies pretty fundamentally. We're going to need to have a very honest look at the problems in this pandemic.
An eye-opening interview with Bhattacharya on his reforms and plans next week on Full Measure. Until then, we'll be searching for more stories that hold powers accountable. Thanks for watching. I'm Sharyl Attkisson.